background there, baby? Yeah, I can tell you are. You, all right, all right. Now, figured I would do a bit of catch up on this last week's little adventures. What? I got maybe a dozen or so captures this week, and most of them within 30 feet or so. Some of them a little further away. But today I just wanted to kind of go back over types of terrain you'll easily find them in, and how to look for them so you can capture footage of them, in broad daylight, because they sit around a lot during the day. You just have to know that they utilize shady spots, shadowy locations, any little spot that's recessed, where there's a dark rim or a deep dark hole. Yeah, they'll just disappear in those little locations, and they're very adept at doing it. Um, very adept, because that's been their way of life for, I don't know, thousands of years. And hopefully this last week's been a good little lesson in, what zone to look in if you're at a flat level. Additionally, things to watch for up in trees. And then when you're down in creek beds, any bush line inside the creek bed or above it may have cryptids sitting in it. It's just a given in this particular northwestern region, and especially in the Willamette Valley, where I and Karma are located. So, when you're dealing with them down in the creek bed, they're usually on the opposite side. Not always, though. Sometimes you'll, walk right down in between the group on your side of the stream and whatever else is sitting on the other side. So you always look for the dark spots, look into those. You can use your camera to lighten those areas, I've discovered. I'm going to have to try to attempt that while filming, see if I can bring them out while I'm filming so it makes it easier to notice exactly where they are. But I also want you to, whenever you're looking at any of my old videos, if you happen to notice an area where you think one is at, screenshot that location and email it to me. Let me know the time mark and the video, and I will be happy to go back through, look, and if there is something good there and it's visible enough to enlarge it, clarify it with a little lightening, I will put it up and note the particular video. Because there are lots of Easter eggs in my videos, and I had been telling you, just because I'm not showing you where they are doesn't mean that I'm not around them and they're not near me. This year I've decided, it's time. Now that people have a little background in their communication and their basic behaviors, the structures they build, the types of tracks they leave behind, the tools that they make, that sort of thing. I figured now, this year, show you a little bit more about how to locate them in their terrain and how to capture them in film, what to look for, and where they're most likely going to be at any given time during the day. And just, their basic behaviors during the day. They sit around a lot during the day. They all forage a little bit, and they have hunters during the day that will catch bigger game, like the goblin walking. I caught 3 of the 6 individuals that I noticed. A couple of them didn't come out good in the film because I didn't pause long enough. And I noticed they got to moving when Karma and I were playing coming in. So I didn't want to disturb them too much, but that is one of their very standard pasture locations. I notice them there a lot, even during the day, even when there's high traffic people in the area. You can tell they'll just sit right in a dark spot next to you. So I'm sorry, researchers are making it really difficult on themselves. They'll figure it out. So this gives you guys a bit of a heads up on how to get to them, where to look for them, and how to capture them easily on film. And, usually you're okay, even the ones that are a little more snarly with you, they'll let you know. They'll growl at you. The dogman in the creek bed had growled at me when I came into that creek bed. So I realized something was there that didn't want us being there. I only spent about 20 minutes there and just did that real brief, maybe 6, 7 minute long video. And yeah, once I shut my video down, I actually picked up their fish knocker because I found it. Unfortunately, I found it after the video. And it was fire treated, good size, it was big. They must get some nice trout up there. And I tapped out, talk, 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 break, friend, answer, come back. And I got to my left around the bend about maybe 30, 35 feet. I got in English, what the fuck? Like, oh wow, one of you dogmen speaks English, that's good. Dogmen also have, when they do speak English, they've got a bit of a real cheeky way of delivering their messages. Whereas Bigfoot will usually tell you, you go now or go away. Dogmen, if they speak English, will say things like, you're done. They're a little more forceful with their language. Um, so that's something also to note. If they are talking English at you, kind of figure out the ones that are going to be a little more gruff, probably dogmen. It was also really nice to find the brown-haired dogmen. I have lore of them. I know they were at one time all up and down this west coast and down into California, near the region where my grandmother grew up. But they supposedly were shot out, killed out in the mid 1800s mostly by settlers believing they were vermin. So I'm really lucky to find a group of brown ones. In fact, two groups of brown. They are a little smaller. On average, their females are 5.5 foot tall. Males 6.5 foot, really scraping it. Occasionally, you'll find one that's 7 foot tall, according to lore. But this is the first time I've ever been around brown ones, so I'm gonna have to learn by watching them. It's the native way. You go in, you sit, you watch. I did try to trade with that group, and I will, after this live is over, post their trail language video that I made, because where I had parked when I was filming in the creek bed, uh, they left me some trail language where I had parked, and it was very clear, our place to meet is over here, this is our front door. That was that unusually twisted triangular structure back in the woods that had the stick stuck in the ground next to it and the pointer behind it. That's their front door. It's also a teepee style, indicating, hey, this is a front door, this is where you stop, this is where you say hello, unless you have an invite. If you've got an invite, then you're allowed to go back to like their living room area to try to trade, which is where they directed me to do basic trade, what I could spare. So there's a turnaround back there. It's the end of a little loop road that's not used a lot. So I went back there and I sat for about 2.5 hours, and I heard them, coming in from all sides. Probably 3 or 4 bigger ones, from what I could tell. And we, Doggo and I stayed out in the open, vehicle pointed towards the exit, way I came in, and just, pulled my sleeping bag out, and we hung out in the shade and stayed cool back there because it was nice. And it was one of those hotter days, and, gave them time to look at us, gave them time to decide. And I finally got in English because I did ask. I'm like, do any of you speak English? Yeah, it's easier for me to trade with you if one is willing to volunteer and talk to me. And I believe it was a dog man. And All he did when he came in, he was about the third one to come in. And they all came in from the hillside. Come here, baby. They all came in from the southern hillside, except for the one that came up from the creek bed on the east. And he says, what do you have? So I said, well, I can bring you things. What do you need? Do you need fire? Do you need bags to carry stuff? Um, do you need things food-wise I can bring you? Are you lacking food? Uh, do you need other items like bottles to carry water in? I have a lot of ability to grab whatever you need. Decide what you need, and I'll bring what I can spare. And that'll be hopefully a payment for coming down here and disturbing you. And that's something, natives, if we found a friendly group, it's how you build good relationships. You offer what you can spare and offer to bring them what they need, and then follow your word. Don't ever mess up with that one. To maintain good relationships means you follow your word. You're always truthful and honest, and don't try to gyp them in any way, and don't let them fool you either. It's a real trade agreement kind of thing. So I'm waiting. I got to go back in there. I might do that today to see if they have decided about what they might like or want, because they paused after that. They did sit. I could hear kind of real hushed talking, but it was probably 80 foot away. I couldn't catch it enough to tell what they were saying. And they didn't tell me to leave. I spent another half hour, 40 minutes. And then, it got a little too warm, so we went down to the creek, went swimming. So please, any questions you have, time to say them. I'm going to back up and figure we'll do a little bit of talk and then a little bit of question answering. Hey, Patel, good to see you. How are you? Hey, Timoi. Good afternoon, Bigfoot Mama. Hello, everyone. I'm so glad you were able to come here and spend a little time with us today. Oh, let me double check. No, I didn't put my volume up. Thank you. I remember my glasses. It's been a long week. Oh, good news. I've been rehired to a new cleaning company. I did my first night of training, 4 hours, Friday evening. This week I'll be pulling part-time on my first building, and then middle end of the week I'll get trained in my second building, and I'll be getting 38 hours a week. I'll only be making about $12 less than my last job, but they might work with me and push it up to 40. I am a grandma. I do have arthritis, but the buildings are pretty easy. It's just basic stuff, janitorial, cleaning toilets, wipe downs, a little bit of dusting, mopping floors, sweeping, vacuuming, real easy. Taking the garbage out, and it's, not a lot. So hopefully everything will go well. So far they like my work ethic, and they're very impressed with me, I think, so I'm happy for that. And hopefully the next set of training goes as well. Yes, Bigfoot Mama. Bigfoot do utilize fire. Um, I know that Dogman and Bigfoot both utilize fire to a degree, and it's usually for specific reasons: hardening tools, tanning hides, um, cooking food, preparing ceremonial meals. And I'm so glad that this area has such a plethora of cultural diversity, and I'm able to show you many of the things I was taught, just locally here in this valley, about how they work clay and how they hunt. This area does not have as many traps. Um, you have to get deeper out in the woods to find traps, or I have to go further north. That's still something I need to show you. And a memorial site, I know of one. I'll probably be able to go in and film a tiny section of that one here soon now that I'm working again and have gas money and I can pay my bills on time. Ha ha ha. Thank goodness. And thank you, everybody, for your prayers and your well wishes. I really appreciate you. I'm pretty sure that's why it was only a week. I got a week's vacation. Thank goodness. And back to work. Awesome. So thank you, everyone. So yeah, hopefully I'll be able to get up in those areas and try to document those other things. And I need to get over to the riverbed that's got all of the really old trackway petrified in it. I just talked to my friend who has Bigfoot on his property. It's his sister-in-law. It's their family's property. So we have permission to go there. I just have to arrange time one weekend where we can go. And he'll help me take care of Doggo, and we'll film, because that's where the really nasty Gugway is that likes to try to sneak up on us. From 1,500 feet across a river that's already killed an Olympic swimmer, that thing can just hop in and boogie right across it like he's paddling across a pool. If I can catch him doing that, even at distance with my phone, I will. But he runs the channels of the petrified coral down there. And he tracks by scent. He gets really way too close for my comfort zone. But yeah, I really want to go down there and film some of that. Okay, Unreal. Is this interaction with Dogman with Mindspeak? Oh no, I don't really experience that sort of thing. I get feelings like you shouldn't be here, you're in danger, but I understand that's my instincts because my hackles go up and I feel like, whoa, I stepped into the wrong place. Gotta go. Exit stage left, stage right. Get the heck out. Because you do understand your instincts, and just following them will save you from things you really shouldn't be around. But no, I communicate verbally with them because they speak languages, and I understand a little bit of their languages. I can say, um, aho nidaba, nia kira nidaba, yeah, things like that, just in general for the native languages. Or some will speak Sioux, so you start with aho or Hua, or Abenaki, etc. And then Dogman, ni hao, you say hello in Chinese. Ni hao koiwa, friend or family, or you can say brother, father, etc. And always say yi, a simple form of, or yi hao, a simple way to say thank you. Um, so it's dialectic. Guanche, they speak a lot of Japanese, and in the middle of the afternoon, they'll say, Ohayo gozaimasu, you know, good morning, because they get up in the afternoon. So, Ohayo, genki desu, how are you? And if they answer, you say, genki, and anada wa, I do, imply, how are you? So you can get them to communicate with you with basic, language. But, just ask. Many of them have somebody that can interpret English or speaks English within their group, so take advantage of that. Keeps you from having to learn an ancient language or a modern language that's an equivalent. Pinyin closest equivalent in modern is Mandarin, because the dialects of Pinyin are what the dialects of Mandarin became in modern times. The same can be said for the dialects of Ainu that became Edo period, hiragana and katakana, in that era of languages. But if you speak proper, modern, Southern Kyoto style Japanese, like myself, you have a basic language you can bridge the gap with, and it's translatable. But easy, just ask them if somebody speaks English. It really does work. I'm still working on trying to get some English language captures of them. I do have a couple of Japanese language captures, hu'uya, that sort of thing, which is Edo period language, and that's in my playlist of language captures, language and calls. Okay, Ray, have you ever had thought on the man in black and if you think they're real? Ooh, yeah, they're real. I've run into a couple of them at different times throughout my expeditions. I've also had a black op helicopter drop down in a friend's yard that I was taking care of, his home, and he warned me, I got Bigfoot on my property. Whisper helicopters come through a lot. About once a month, they try to kill them in my backyard, and they'll drop into my yard. If that happens, chase them out of my yard. Yeah, they came over the first night with Spotlight, about a week after I started taking care of his property. The following night, they came in whisper mode, but they still had the searchlight. And I watched the Bigfoot scatter from the backyard both times. Third night, they came in, no spotlight, dropped, oh gosh, a small platoon, very well armed with, night vision goggles on, and that pissed me off, so I went out and shouted one, tapped him on the shoulder. All he said when I told him, get the fuck off the property, it's private property, he said, there are civilians in the area, and everybody boonied back and got on the fucking copter and left. So yeah, they are real. And they don't give a goddamn about the law. Sorry, I am 100% honest with that bullshit. They will try to intimidate you. They will try to, if you get attacked by something, they will force you into a non-disclosure agreement threatening your career. They will interrogate you in locked rooms in businesses where they've threatened them. Been through the whole gamut of that crap. I've been interrogated twice. Doesn't work on me. But anyway, I have too much training. My native parents, my native mother, and my very militaristic father prepared me very well for that BS. So, they can piss off. Sorry. Just being honest. Yes, are you sure? Typically, this is how their internal politics work for group leaders. They, like other Native American culture groups, are led by their eldest woman. She is the mother of the family, so to speak. Her husband, and in the event that her husband has passed, her eldest son will be her war chief or her guard. So women, matriarchal system, they are considered peace chiefs. Women rule until there is a problem. Then a strong male leader, usually directly related to mother of the clan or mother of the tribe, is appointed and agreed upon, because you have to vote, even though she may say this man's a good leader. She may also say, no, I don't want my son or I don't want my husband to do that. I want my brother or my father or, you know, the grandson here, because the other are too old. We all have to provide support. So they think tactically like that, and then, they act very indigenous in the same regards. They will try to resolve a thing without conflict. But if it comes to conflict, they will step up and they do change roles. This is part of their cultural expectations. In the event that you are dealing with one that is rogue, though, that's been cast out, somebody that's done a crime and he's been shunned, you're going to have problems with those individuals because they will not be taken in by any other tribe, clan, or family. They will be left on their own because of the crime they've committed. If they are not just put on a pig pole and, you know, removed from the society because of the heinous nature of their crime. Okay. Jones. In your vid, Karma Finds Bigfoot, I have found lots in a picture I took, including what looks like a ball sit spot full. Oh, yay! I was wondering if anybody, I thought there was a group up in the trees. I just try to find the ones that are the, easiest, closest. But like I said, there are usually a ton of these things in my videos. But now that you understand how to find them, please screenshot them, email me, give me the title of the video and the minute marker, and I'll be happy to post them. because I want you guys to be able to look, see, and find them for yourselves, especially if you're researchers or if you're, somebody that's out a lot. Be aware of your surroundings. This is how to be aware. Do not take a pot shot at these things. It'll only piss them off, only make them not like you, and they are some very, very dangerous to do that to. That and with as humanoid as they are, uh, and the fact that you understand they speak language, you can say, "Oh, I'm sorry." If you get something thrown at you, when I get something thrown at me, which is not often, I apologize. Oh, you want to cross through? Okay, and I fall back. I pull back 80, 100 foot, and sometimes they might say, "Oh, you go," or "Go now." Means they're trying to get their family together. They don't want you in the area to bother them while they're eating and sharing family time. So I'll just go, go find a place away from them, go sit, do my thing, or I'll leave, depending on the time of day, until the group gets to know me and they don't want me to leave. Then, they'll let you hang out more. Okay, that looks like a spot. All watching you. I'll say a couple of other gnome-like how to send you. Northwest Native Tracker, yahoo.com. That's my email. It's all lowercase and just NW. You don't have to spell out Northwest. Once I'm done with this video, I'll post that in my description. I forgot to do that when I started. Unreal. I was about 5 years old when I saw Dogman. And thank you guys for all the love today. Or what I think is Dogman. Never saw Dogman again, except in a dream when I was about 40, 50. Wow, yeah, they're everywhere. You'll find Dogmen in flatlands. You'll find them sometimes in stream beds. It looks like the brown ones like stream beds. I know that the smaller dark black ones, the hayseed Dogmen, they really like the grasslands in this area throughout this valley. And then you get the little mountain dogmen. They range about 7.5 foot tall. They like to be in marshes and up into about the 500-foot range in the hillsides. And occasionally they'll live down in marshlands. And then you got the really nasty big ones, like the inky dog man track, which has got an 11-inch track. The one night I did see him, he was probably 5.5 foot sitting down and about 4 foot across. So he's probably scraping 11 feet, 10, 11 feet. He's huge. And he unnerved me. I did not feel safe around him at all, so I left. So those guys are pretty aggressive. They'll get aggressive with Bigfoot. From what I understand, they hunt Skookum, and they'll hunt the young ones in particular. So Skookum in that particular, species of dogman don't get along. The one I was around when I was living in the yurt, he was one of the mountain dogmen. They are a pain in the asterisks, but they're very intelligent and they can be reasoned with. They just really test you and they bug you to see how far they can push you, what your reaction. They really do a lot of research on you, so to speak. Down here, he started by throwing stuff, but he was very clever about it. He threw it through a 3 foot by 4 foot gap at the top of my bear door. Not much of a freaking bear door if you don't cover in the top. People that live in cities and try to move into the country, they don't have a concept. Anyway, he'd throw rocks through that little hole, and in front of it was a parkade where I could back my vehicle in, unload my groceries, within 10 feet of my door. And I had a little bit of the side that was where my wood was, right next to my fire stack, so it stayed dry, tarped off, etc. I had to tarp it because the dogman would sit there next to my fire stack and stay warm, and he'd get really aggressive, growl at me and crap when I was trying to grab firewood. So I put a tarp up, and he'd still get pissy with me. He'd slap the tarp sometimes at me and scare me half to death while I was trying to pick wood up. And I got to a point where I just slapped it back to him. Same thing, man. And I growled back. So and he set me up a couple of times too. Oh my, too clever. Way too clever. Alright. Unknown. Very interesting. Thank you for sharing. I've been researching these creatures. I have videos of them. Please be safe out there. Thank you. You as well. I'm glad that you are here, and I hope that some of the stuff I talk about and show will help others bring these people and creatures, things, whatever they are, more forward to the general public. Because, the majority of them, we walk around them all the time. And it's plain to tell when I show you. And many of them are not as dangerous as you might think. They'll get grumpy. They'll let you know before they ever get aggressive. That's why I'm like, a lot of what's going on has to be by either redbone, Gugway, that sort of thing. Though most of the Gugway here in this northern part, central part of this valley, they don't seem to be as bloodthirsty as the ones down south, going towards into the redwoods. The ones in the redwoods, the Gugway down there, Southern Oregon, all of those guys are really, really, really aggressive. Some up north, more around the Columbia area, some of them are really, really aggressive. But it looks like the majority of the ones in this particular region of the valley have been pretty well subdued by the Guanche. They keep them in check, and a lot of them don't act as aggressive as you might think, thankfully. Now, once you get out further east, you get towards Central Oregon, you get into that first range there, you get up into the Oak Ridge, Klamath Falls area. You're getting into some more aggressive ones again. Out in the coastal range, there's a couple locations. You just don't go. Locations my mother showed me. Yeah, no, thank you. I think one of the locations is a really big Dogman group up there. About 1,400 foot up. That area of the forest is always really, really black. It's just so thick. The canopy, you go 10 feet inside of that canopy, it's like walking in the night. And whatever's up there really likes the darkness, so, I don't want to mess with that. I'll take my mom's word for it. She's always told me the truth. Okay. Have I ever seen the cynocephali wearing clothing since you said they tan hides? There have been reports of them wearing like a drape in front of them. Some have been reported wearing a bandolier. Others will wear necklaces. Some will carry like a tool belt with a tool on the side. It just depends on the tribe and the location in the world that they're at. I haven't noticed that myself yet, but I have lots more areas to explore. Don't know what I might run across. And, there's always a story of St. Christopher. You look into him, he's quite an individual overall. Agent 770. It looks like what people call a werewolf, but werewolves don't do these magical things like mind speak, appearing suddenly from out of nowhere, or being exactly like a human in intelligence. Yeah, werewolves are more like too similar to a skinwalker in my mind. That ability to transform from human form back to animal form to, human again, and then eventually losing their cognitive abilities to function at a human intelligence level while changed into the animal form, because that's the danger of taking up skinwalking. Eventually you stick in the form that the animal form, the beast form. You don't have the ability eventually to return. And that's why you don't take up those stay away from that dark medicine. Not good for the soul. Not good for the human psyche. And not something that would be good to practice as a good society. It's a social society that cares for each other. Ray, is AI part of any lore? No, only Uncle Ong talked about technologies that have been petrified in the ground, and that we would be at a time again, probably within my lifetime, that was similar in nature to what ancient people once had done. And there are some archaeological finds of petrified nanotech. I believe it was found in China, along with clay, water piping, and some other unusual, strange stuff. But not with the Bigfoot. They don't have any kind of lore of that. They believe that they developed in our planet's oceans during ancient times. That would be about 3.4 billion years ago, when this planet was mostly covered by ocean, like entirely covered by ocean, most of it only a few feet thick. And the biggest creatures were, this funny looking shelled, squiddy looking guy that was about 3 foot long. And clams hadn't even learned how to detach from the floor of the ocean yet. And it wasn't as much of an ocean, it was kind of a mixture of salinated areas and non-salinated areas. So very, very ancient life forms. And those, when you look back into the archaeological record of that timeline, because we do have some examples in, bedrock that we found. They're all very alien-looking little three-pronged things, or little unusual circular-looking shells, or squiddy-looking critters, and very unusual-looking creatures, and none of them very big. So their lore, the cryptids lore, the Bigfoot lore, basically says they came along like every other living thing on this planet, scientifically, and developed into what they were and are, just like, the very first species, supposedly crawling up out of the oceans as, water receded and land became more prevalent. They don't talk about flying machines or spaceships or anything like that. They don't have an understanding of it. They understand basic flotation devices, uh, you know, that sort of thing. They understand herbal medicine. They're very, they're very ancient. They're very archaic in their behaviors. They're very first humanoid, Aldoan period style people and the way they live. And we've got plenty of examples of, the Aldoan style tools. Even what I just showed you in the creek stream bed this previous week or so. You can find archaeological references. You can find examples of the same exact tool. And then, if you don't have a need to advance and you have a good way of interacting with your environment and you never have a want of much, uh, anything that wouldn't make you discovered is nothing you would practice anyway. You would remain very basic in your living just to conceal yourself from those that are more advanced, especially if they didn't like you or tried to kill you, and no, I don't PC my language up. Not gonna happen. And yeah, it's called freedom of speech. Not to get on a soapbox. Okay. Let's see. Unknown. Thank you for sharing. You're welcome. Glad to help out. Glad to share my grandmother's lore and my experiences. Okay. Unknown. I've seen some in Salmon Island that were 40, 50 foot tall. I know that up in Alaska there are some that are incredibly large in that range of height. And Montana also has larger individuals, as does Idaho, some parts of Canada. Agent 770, I'm in Atlanta, Georgia, born here. Some say it might be related to the burial mounds here. I've also heard it might be genetic or family tied, as if they choose you specifically to come to me. They will choose people of good character to associate with. If they see that you keep your word, that you're honest with people, that you're good to be around, you keep your mouth quiet, you notice things but you don't panic, you judge things, determine whether or not you're going into a safe area. Sometimes they also note your walk. If you walk quietly, if you act respectfully in the area, you don't tear up their stuff or take their things, they're usually pretty friendly with you and they're pretty reasonable about getting along with you. It just depends on the family group. Skookum up here, you can be in their area for 24 hours and they'll start talking to you sometimes. Sometimes it takes a little longer. They gotta know you. They gotta watch you a little bit. But once they realize you're okay and you're not gonna freak out, because they don't like us being startled by seeing them. It bothers them that you visually react that way. If you like, they they don't like that. If they look at you and you just say, "Oh, hey," like, yeah, then you're passing the neighbor. That gets a better reaction out of them. If you act nonchalant, they react the same way, nonchalant. Okay, Bigfoot Mama. They even climb on the roof of her house. Oh yeah, I have seen that going on too. Yeah, you're welcome, Bigfoot Mama, anytime. Hey Ben, how you doing? Yes, I'm very glad I'm gainfully employed again as well. And good to be here. Okay, Agent 770. It was my family home, our garage car part. I had some sneak away from the... I gotcha. For the first time ever that I can remember, it was only a minute or two of an experience. Yeah, but that's very common to find them that way. And yeah, I've seen them go across tops of buildings. Heck, oh my god, the reptilian creature, while I was staying up in Canada on Vancouver Island with my now ex-husband. Yeah, we got shadowed one night by a reptilian on top of a building, 3-story building across the road in the middle of town. And that that particular area of that touristy town has a very, very many encounters with that thing. Locals know about it. There's also a few dogmen in that particular area that come through, and there are also some supposed vampires up there. Yikes. So, that's got a very healthy population of unique stuff. So, yes, on tops of buildings, at the sides of buildings, passing along parking lots. Lots of people have reported that sort of thing going on. I've even seen that sort of thing going on myself. Following water channels or ravines through towns, they do that. So don't think that just because you live in a city or a town that you're not going to find a cryptid. You will. Some of them will even play in your backyard while you're asleep. And yeah, as part of my theory as to why we don't notice them, we've grown up around them, we've lived around them. Uh, we don't pay any attention to it because we don't think anything about it. We've seen the ground evidence all the time. It's not abnormal. We just don't put it together who or what is leaving the ground spore behind. And that's why I felt that what I do is important. Show you some of that basic stuff. I remember one location here in this valley where there was a family group that butted up against, about a dozen houses or so. And there was a hiking trail behind their fences. And I would find occasionally in some of the areas where there were children that would go into, the forest areas along that perimeter, and they go out and play with toy soldiers or whatnot in the dirt and make little forts and whatnot out of sticks. Uh, you'd see where the Bigfoot children would play with it at night, and the children would play with it during the day. Because the kids would leave the toys behind. And I even knew a fellow up in Washington briefly, and one of the individuals that he interviewed, and we spoke for several months about what he called the sidewalk ninjas. When he was a kid, he'd leave his toys out, and his toys would be moved. They'd be in a different place in the morning with clear evidence they'd been played with, and he wanted to know what was playing with them. He never really saw anything. He'd find footprints or a handprint sometime, or a rump print in the grass or something in his yard. But he realized they were there. And he was grew up in a city that had, I think, 170,000 people in it. They'll just, they don't move. They stay in the area. We're around a lot more of them than we realize. That's why I always say, red bone people, yeah, they're dangerous. The outcasts, yeah, they're dangerous. But the majority of these cryptids are not, or we wouldn't be here. Alright, Agent 770. Oh, I already read that one. Hey, Ray. Have you been to Owl Moon Lab? And if so, is it special? No, I have not been in any sort of facility like that. The 2 times I was interrogated, it was done in a private facility, but it was a public facility, not a dark op place. It was just the most convenient place to interrogate me. They would go in and intimidate the local doctors or whoever was there and do what they wanted. Threaten to close their business and make sure they never were able to work in their field again, kind of thing. And then a non-disclosure, don't ever talk about this, or your retirement goes away, your family might disappear, that kind of crap. Meaning they caught me on the fly by accident in a place, unfortunately, I probably shouldn't have been. Ray, are there any cryptids under control by some other entity, or are they always controlling themselves? Other than the fact that some may have been captured, or there might be, red bone cryptids that are in league with dark operation people, I would say that they would have to be probably captured or, you know, controlled with a shock collar or something. I don't think they've got the tech to genetically create them. I know they can't clone me. So, from my experience living around Gen for the years I did, she was just like any other creature, just like us. She didn't talk about anything controlling her. When she wanted to go back to see her family or retrieve an item to show me, she'd go back to where she was born. She'd be gone a day or two, visit her family, come back to our property. She'd have the item. She'd show me things that were carved bone pieces that were really, really beautiful. And tell me the lore and how they were used, and what the item was, and why it was made, and if it had been passed down or not, because they also passed down some of their property. So please, please respect them. Do not take unusual looking stones without asking. Do not take unusual looking items without asking. You might be taking an item that has been hundreds of years generationally passed down, and sometimes even thousands of years passed down in their family groups and through their tribal system. So please have some respect for these creatures. I call them creatures because your mindset might think that they're creatures. I think that they are far more human. And I'm not trying to humanize them. I'm just pointing out the obvious conclusion that you could draw by the type of ground spore that they make. They obviously are not chimpanzees with just rocks or straw, They're not just an orangutan with a fire-hardened wooden spear. They're the next version up. Almost like Clovis people or the older one people. You know, they have language. Another differentiation there between greater primates, which have calls only, no language, and they can't speak English, you know, no vocal cords mind for it. They couldn't, you know, I'm just pointing out the archaeological obvious answer there, the biological obvious there. So yes, they are controlling themselves, and they govern themselves. They create their own laws, they create their own punishments, they do this hereditarily. It's the same laws they've always had, stuff they've agreed upon in the past. They keep their culture. They are indigenous people that have never lost their lore or their culture. Okay, Deborah. Hello. Good to catch you this weekend. Was wondering, seeing I changed locations and haven't been out like usual. Do you know I miss being around? Yeah, I understand that. Yes, once they befriend you, like Jin Jin, because my family, mother, my dad, once he finally clued in and lost his fear, took him many years to go through the denial and get away from his fear because of what he'd seen as a child. You know, he had nightmares from what he saw the mountain boogers do to the old trapper. So, yes, once they create a bond with you, they will visit you in their dreamland. You know, they'll dream walk to you. They will miss you. Sometimes they'll relocate to come be with you if you've had a really good relationship with them. You want to go lay down? You want to go lay down? Okay. So yes, uh, Jin Jin even went to the extent after I'd been away from her for, let's see, I was about 9 when I saw her last in the early 2000s, almost, geez, 40 years later. She moved to where her mother, or her husband Guanch, all of her children moved to where my mother was, living here in the valley. So they relocated 160 miles to be near her, probably because she was getting old, and probably because they thought I would still be with her, because, you know, we always lived together on the ranch. My mother even called me and said, "You're never going to guess. You know, Gonch and Jen Jen are here. They've laid down kind of, they've said hello at night, and they're next to the clan tree that we found and moved to." I'm going to put my doggo in the vehicle. And sometimes that happens. There are still native tribes that have good relationships with some of these people. They've traded with them for generations. So once you have a good relationship, they will maintain that. And they will be consistent with that. Come on, sweetheart. Come on, doggo. Baby girl. Come on. In you go. Alright, there you go. I think I'll open the back for her too, let her relax. She's been having a lot of fun playing in the stream, so she's been pretty tired. She's an old girl, though. I don't blame her. So let me back over here. And, you know, just give you... This is a park. An older park. This is one of the locations my mother actually brought me. And there are some Gugway that live here, but they mind their manners pretty well. Yep, there she goes. Okay. I don't know. They might take that extent. They might go that far. Depends on how much they value you, Deborah. If they relocate across the country, they must really value you. And it is possible. The other is they may also inform on you because they do have national trade routes. They still use the old trade route systems the Native Americans did. And they can trade all across the United States up through Canada and down into Mexico. So sometimes you'll find some very displaced items because of their trade routes. And if they do want to relocate, they probably will follow a trade route to you. You know, what we call the Oregon Trail, for instance. That was originally a native trade route. Agent 770. Some say they, Dogman and others, are like people, some good, some bad. So too. So to whatever combination. Yes. Yes, that's usually because of the species of them, though. Sun-faced people, light-colored skins with skinned people like us, are usually cannibals. Be careful of them. Not good. There are also very large species of sun-faced people. Most of the sun-faced people are our height or a little taller, 6.5 foot tall, so. But there are species of them that can reach 15 feet tall. And they're cannibals. They'll eat each other, they'll eat you. And they're very cunning. They will lure you, especially the ones that are more man-sized. They have a very, very human-looking face. If a sun-faced person ever sticks their hand out after they have compromised you, or if you're in danger in some way, maybe you've fallen into a location, if a person with skin tone like ours offers you their hand, don't take it. Native lore says they won't let go of you, and they are far stronger, 3-4 times your strength. There will be nothing you can do. They like to imprison you. They like to enslave you. They like to torture you. And eventually they will eat you, or they will breed with you and eat your offspring in front of them. That's the old lore about them. And when the one sun-faced person did compromise me by taking my brand new cedar bow that I had made and the 3 arrows that I had made for hunting rabbit, he put them down in a ravine in water where I would have to go down a very steep pathway, very hard to get back up because of the slippy terrain. Would have had to crawl on my hands and knees to get back up. When I had picked up my bow and my arrow, which was in the edge of the stream and at the edge of the marsh, he was sitting where I had passed down. And I started to walk back. I had the bow and arrow in my hands, and he puts his hand out and says, "I can help you." And he said it in English. My grandmother's words come back in my mind. Don't take his hand. So, oh, thank you. You like the bow? You like the arrows? Oh, good. You know, immediately give whatever item that they have been attracted to them, or they will take offense. They feel they've stolen it fair and square because you weren't paying attention to it. You'd stolen it from me when I was napping in the shade. So you put the item down. Yeah, if you want it, you need it, I can make another one. No worry. You can keep this one. That's your trade to get out of the area. Then you don't go up where he is. You go any available path out of there, away from him, as quickly and as calmly as you can. Watch, make sure that he doesn't skirt you. I immediately went off through the off through the swamp. I ended up at about this height trying to get away from him through that little marsh. I got away, but he followed me to where it started getting deep. That's when I started swimming, because I didn't want him to think he could compromise me again. And I didn't know if there was quicksand below me anywhere. Okay. Agent 770. What do you think, what are your thoughts on Dogman being seen more of 10 in specific places and specific situations or circumstances? Burial grounds, battlefields, holy places, but even on the side of the roads. Most of the dogmen here I have found in marshes, hillsides, mountains, and in flatland areas. So I think it's probably just because whatever's there now was maybe built where they already lived. That's a possibility. You know, the big dogman that comes down, he does come down through a graveyard. However, he comes down from a cave system above the graveyard in the mountains to the west of it. And I think he uses that route because it's heavily forested on one side. It's easy for him to disappear in. It's not got any, really close homes to it. It's an advantage for him to pass through that area because it's dark, no street lights. He blends in well, and it dumps him straight from his living area down into the back of a neighborhood and readily available to grocery store lunch boxes, garbage cans that he raids. He likes to pick cheese and meat out. He'll throw the bread away from the sandwiches and the veggies away, and you can tell it's been peeled apart and they've been thrown away because they'll be flipped a couple of feet on either side. He will also occasionally eat fruit. Dogs will occasionally eat fruit. And he'll go after mashed potatoes, that sort of thing too. So I think it's more an advantageous thing, or maybe the facility, the graveyard, or whatever has been placed there. The building's been added to that area, and they'd already previously lived there. I don't think they're necessarily attracted to them, though there are stories in native lore about cryptids that would come into battlefields and take the dead. Even in the Mideast, there are those same sorts of lores, and they're modern. Even modern soldiers outside of FOBs have noticed that sort of thing going on. So there are potentially particular species that will do that. So it's good to know your local lore, learn what you can about the cryptids in your area, because we're all different. Different locations have different cryptids. Some have the same. I know a lot about the ones here, but there are different types all over the world, and different types in every state. The other thing I have, a question for people to follow through on if you want to take up the challenge. Any of you that can get a hold of a do not shoot list for hunters, I'm going to try to go get one myself. I'd like to see if anybody's willing to check that list, see if the information I've been told is correct, that the Bigfoot species is on the do not shoot list for all hunters. Because I believe it is. And I'd love to see posted pictures of that. I'm getting really tired of seeing people who don't understand that that's the case. And that, we probably shouldn't be taking pot shots at something that we don't even understand yet. We don't have enough information on them. We don't know how many are out there. We don't know how they really act. We should not let fear be our first judgment. Because it's pretty obvious from this past month's videos, you can be very, very close to them, and the most you're going to get is a growl, a snarl, a bared set of teeth here or there, even from what we consider the more aggressive species. The reason why I didn't want Karma going around the bend and kept calling her back is because she was attracted to something down around the bend. I figure it was probably another adult like the one that had been looking at her from above while she was checking out the little group of kiddos on the opposite side of the stream. So don't let your dogs out of eyesight either. I don't let her. She's got a rule. eyesight rule. If I can't see her and she can't see me, she's not allowed to go there. And I reinforce that. And I also have a brake command for her so she will stop if she catches wind of something and she tries to go after it. I have to have her stopped right then and there. Learned that with my first dog, Caesar. So make sure that you have a brake command and an eyesight rule with your dogs. Do not attempt to use them as trackers or scent hounds. You'll get your dog killed. Also, if you are out in the field, even if you are in a vehicle, that vehicle is a great big lunchbox. Do not, if you have anything coming at you and you feel unsafe at all, put your keys in the ignition and leave. They can crush your car with you in it and rip the doors off later to get you out of their lunchbox when they pick it up and carry it away. There are locations out by Oak Ridge where 10,000-pound equipment has been thrown over the side of hilltops because they didn't want loggers in there. Keep that in mind. They've also had logging trucks chucked. So some of these things are big enough they can do that. Please be aware of that. I also keep my dog on a leash in the mornings and at night. Her last potty time is at dusk. If we are out past that, she is at this, at my campfire with me if the season is applicable, and I don't let her run off in the dark. Do not. And I don't leave my animal out at night. No, not a good idea. Not even in a pen or a box. Don't do it. If you are not 100% sure of what you're in the area with, do not put your animal at risk, please. So those are my rules for my doggo and me. And then I also, just because there are other predators out, bear, cougar, God only knows what else, crawlers, at night, if I got a potty break, I don't go into the bushes. I pop out, do my biz, go right back in. Too many instances where I have had a bear sitting close to me at night. Not good. So keep that in mind. You're not just out there with Bigfoot. You are out there with other predators as well. Cougar, etc. Coyotes, wolves. And just be careful, guys. Use some common sense. Think about things. Okay, Agent 770. Yeah, right. I have seen a lot of them on the sides of the road. In fact, that was one of the games I used to do when I was a kid. My mom and I were driving to a new camping location in the redwoods or the sequoias. I'd look out my passenger side window and see how many cryptids I could count and what they were doing. Were they watching? Were they looking at us from behind a tree? Were they walking away with something like a basket or a deer over their shoulder? Or were they sitting foraging? Or did they have a young one with them? And going through the redwoods on average, I'd see between 6 and 8. Same in the sequoias. Up in Washington, there are locations where you can see them literally sitting on the sides of the roads in some locations. Going up Granite Falls area, oh my God, you'll see them all over up there. Yeah, so you'll see them. You just point a camera out your side window, you'll see more than you think. Oh, I'm glad you like my doggo. She's a really good girl. She's real smart, she's real sweet. Okay, Deborah, so good to know. I know how I feel. Hope you see sign of them where I am now. I will let you know. Oh, awesome. Yeah, she likes kitties too. She even adopted a stray once just to make sure it was okay. Oh, thank you guys. I'm glad you appreciate my channel and my efforts to share my family lore and understanding. And hopefully, it helps you in your daily lives. And if you happen to be a researcher, hopefully it'll help you get more footage. more proof. It'll give you more clues of where to look, how to look, and when to look. Hmm. Agent 770, some have said that they are associated with being guardians. Well, you can make agreements, uh, like what was going on with my friend's property. They had problems with them the first couple of weeks they were there because the property had been left abandoned, and Bigfoot were concerned that they wouldn't be able to get to the water they'd been able to get to previously. So they threw stuff at him, they made calls, they slapped the side of the house, scared him half to death. It went out, made agreements with him. No, 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 you can come in, you can take the water that you need, take the fruit that you need off the trees. You live here, we live here, let's build good relationships. Right after we made those agreements and kept a little pond full of water for them and gave them access to the dripping well area, they set up a TP trade structure, and they've accepted plates of food from my friend. They've also left fowl behind, in trade for the plates of food. So they have a very reciprocal relationship out there. When the cougar came in, they started to patrol the area more. And when the crawler came in, they got a dogman to protect themselves and patrol my friend's property and protect them as well. So there are ways of building good relationships with them, and doing the same sort of tribal things that we did as indigenous natives here while we lived side by side, because it's never stopped. We still live next to, and it's I think I just got growled at from over there. Huh. Maybe I should wrap up soon. Maybe they just don't like the individual that showed up. Okay. Deborah, in Skamania County, Washington, it is illegal to harm or kill Bigfoot, also known as Sasquatch. This law established in 69 carries a penalty of up to $1,000 fine and a year in jail. Thank you, Deborah. Yeah, please make this sort of thing known. If you can dig up any local laws, any local statutes, any state laws, we need to educate each other about the fact that the federal government already and state governments already have some sort of understanding enough to put them on these sorts of lists and to put these sorts of restrictions and laws in place. I think it would be a huge mistake to eradicate them before understanding them. Wow, and that's the first thing you found. I know that St. Helens, Washington also has laws in place, and I think that's Skamania County. But the city itself also has some very specific laws. Ray, is it safe to sleep on a cot, or will bears and mountain lions attack you? Uh, I don't sleep out in the wild. If there are bear, I put up a bear line around me, and that's, you tie tin cans so they rattle, and you make a big circle around your camp if you're sleeping out in the open, and make it, where they're gonna hit it about shoulder height or a little lower, so that if they try to step over it, it'll rattle, wake you up, and you can find their trackway pretty easily, and kind of safeguard where you're at to where they pass. But if they're rogue, because some bear get a liking for people, as do some cougar, I wouldn't trust them at night out in the open. Um, Maybe in a tent, but I don't even bother with that. I always use my vehicle. I prefer a little bit of metal between me and what's out there. And besides, I've had too many weird close calls. The crawler unzipping my tent a couple of years ago, that kind of cemented the I'm in my vehicle or I'll be in a hard shell pop-up. I'm not going to be in a tent or out in the open unless I am 100% sure I'm not in the territory of any predator. Maybe it's just me. Oh yeah, lots of little critters can be dangerous at night. Uh, you know, don't leave your shoes on the ground in this area. You might have a scorpion that crawls into it, because they are in the forests around here. Or, other such things. That, and you open yourself up. If you're up in the timberlands or out in the desert, you're opening up yourself for a rattlesnake to come curl up with you. Yeah, don't do that. Not good. That's one of the rules that we always had if we were in a tent. As soon as you set the tent up and your stuff is inside it, keep it zipped for two reasons. It eliminates mosquitoes and spiders, but it also eliminates scorpions and rattlesnakes from crawling in with you. Never leave your tent unzipped in the wild. Okay, Agent 770. Here where I live, the main danger is animal are seen on the trails and rivers are snakes. Yeah, snakes are a big one here too. Thankfully, on this, until you get into the foothills around here, you don't have to worry about rattlers down in the valley too much. We don't have anything venomous on the valley floor typically. But once you hit that 500 foot and above mark, you're getting into rattlers and timbers and scorpions and clear scorpions. And, yeah, not good. Deborah, I'm still scared to go at nighttime, so no camping for me in a long while. Yeah, if you're at all concerned about camping at night, don't. There's an area I would like to investigate at night. I'm going to have to go back in a few more times during the day and discern whether I feel comfortable being there at night. I don't like the ground evidence. I'm finding the ground spores a little... I don't know if it's people being not good in that area and having riled up the group. And that might be the cause of why that group is a little more overactive. But I do want to be able to get up there because they make a lot of similar sounds to the Ron Moorhead tapes. They bang on stuff, they power knock at distance. They make whoops, they have calls, you hear gurgly screams and stuff like that. And I would like to be able to capture that sort of activity, but I don't want to make them think that I am like whatever riled them up before. I want them to be able to distinguish that I am not the other guy. So when I do go in, I'm going to have to try to catch those interactions before they get familiar with me. Because once they get familiar with me, they're probably not going to overreact again. They'll probably try to come and trade. We've been at it about an hour and 20 minutes. Agent 770, but they try to stay away from people. A lot of them do. They don't want a negative interaction with us. They don't want to interact with us either, for the most part, unless we show that we understand that they can communicate. We acknowledge them and they understand that we know they're there. That breaks the ice a little bit. And that can facilitate, better interactions. But no, they don't care about us. They avoid us, or they'll just sit there and watch us. That's why, when anybody says, well, I went in and I hid cameras really well. No, literally, no joke, they're watching you. You know, they're sitting in the brush line somewhere looking at you. Or they're sitting up a tree looking at you. Or the kids go and tattle on you. Oh yeah, I was a human at the edge of our, hunting ground and they did something to a tree, Mom. I don't know what it is. It looks like a big square. Because they do know shapes. So, you'll get that sort of thing going on. They'll rat you out. So, yeah, it's probably my method would be a real easy way, you know, to get a good relationship going with them. Don't think that you can trick them. They watch you too much, and that doesn't give you a good rep if you try to trick them. Like the day I weighed, I convinced Jen, the Bigfoot that was on our property, to play on our weighing scale. It was a pulley system scale for weighing, you know, horses and cows. So it was, I think, a max of 4 or 5,000 pounds that, you know, you could put an animal on a hook, dress it out, and weigh it. You know, moose, you could put a freaking 1,600 pound moose on it, and it wouldn't have done a thing to it. It would have registered the weight just fine. So I convinced her to play with me on the weight pulley system so I could figure out how much she weighed and have a good understanding. Because she was about 8.5 foot tall at the time. This is about the second year, I think it was second year she was there. And she got onto the weight with, you know, I got her to get on the chain with me, and then I stepped off the chain and I stepped back. Said, "Isn't that fun?" And I looked up and I caught her eyes, and then I looked up to the scale, and it was bobbing between 956 and 957 pounds. And then she realized I was looking at the scale. She looked up at the scale. She looked down at me. Cross. "Are you trying to trick me?" And she got off the scale. She let go of the chain and took her feet off the holding the chain. And she was a good 18, 20 inches off the floor. So I know I had an accurate weight on her. So at 8.5 foot tall, she was 900 and roughly 57 pounds. So if somebody tries to tell me I drug a 300-pound Bigfoot out of the woods, I can say, BS, I know better. And now you do too. Her father weighed in at about 11 or 1,200 pounds. So that's, you know, half a ton. You're not going to be pulling that anywhere on a tarp. Your tarp is not going to handle it. You are not going to be able to pull it. You better have a cat, a pulley system on your truck, and a canvas tarp that's made for freaking heavy loads like semis, or you're not getting one out of any place. So there's that sort of thing too. You know, they might. No, she asked me if I wanted to go back in the doghouse, meaning she'd ignore me until I apologized. I'm like, no, I don't want to do that. So, you know, they do have some standards, and they do have social practices. Kid gets in trouble for being a brat. I was trying to be a brat and trick her. She figured it out, called me on my BS. So they'll do the same to adults. Okay. Ray, can you sleep, windwalk, or invisible for protection? People have told me that I can disappear because they've seen me disappear, and I have experimented with it. People can hear me walking, but they can't see me moving. The most they'll see is a shimmer, or they'll see the outline of me. So I guess I picked that up from Jen when she was meditating, because I would often sit with her and hum and try to do the same thing that she was doing. You know, kids copying what they see. So I guess I picked that up from her. And I know I can wind walk. That was something my mother taught me because it was something that was part of our medicine practices, as is dream walking. Because my native mother and grandmother and my brother, we could all sit around in dreamland and talk to each other at night and discuss things and, you know, get up in the morning and know what we talked about. And sometimes we'd even call each other on the phone and finish the conversation during the day. So that's a practice that can be learned. People can learn that. Anybody can learn that. It's just opening up your being to understanding how. You know, fasting is a good thing to do. Meditating is a good thing to do. Keep your system clean of junk. You know, if you detox your system, clean yourself up. Uh, don't overindulge in things. But those are basic practices. And to spiritually open up, it's a lot of meditation. Before I was allowed to go on my turnout, uh, I didn't go through a sweat, since we didn't have the ability to do a sweat. So another method was used. I was encouraged to fast for 3 days. I was allowed bread and water, no sleep, stay awake as long as I could. And if I dozed, I had to be sitting upright and dozed and wake up. I wasn't allowed to lay down. It was so, the energy of my being would open, and my awareness of that interaction and that energetic exchange, my auric extension, would become part of my awareness. And it was so I could remain safe while out on my turnout and applying my skills. She felt that I would need to be able to understand how to extend my aura to find the creatures that would be around me for my own safety. So that was the way she opened up my auric understanding. And I also was encouraged after that to do daily practices where I would project my aura to go look at something or to go interact somewhere. And then I was to go after I had meditate, you know, after I had projected my aura, I was to go to the location I looked at aurically to confirm that I had not been tricking myself and that I was actually visually seeing what was actually in place. So I'd pick a location that I hadn't climbed to before and go look at it and then go physically to it to confirm. I wasn't messing with myself. I wasn't deluding myself in any way. So that's a good way to check yourself. Additionally, this is how natives, medicine people, if there was a great famine or a drought and game was scarce or water was scarce, if you couldn't find it, those things of need, you'd go to your medicine person and they would oracally go and look, find water or find game and say, oh, okay, 2 days travel or a day's travel. This way you'll find a spring. Send a runner, go find spring. If that's the case, we can move there because I also saw game, in the ravine beyond or whatever. So that would be part of our migrational pattern would be to find the next good spot, the next sweet camp, or available food sources in the area if they were not plentiful in ours. And if we were crammed in between other tribes and we couldn't move, then we'd have to make trade agreements with the tribe next door. Can we pass through your land? Can we trade with you? Can we hunt on your land? Are you also in need? We know a good spot. Let's go. So that you're living in a. If you're not at odds with each other, you have to rely on each other. And it's always better to rely on each other than to be at odds. Oh, yikes. Agent 770, you have diamondbacks, copperheads, cottonmouths, yep, and even coral snakes. Yeah, I've seen coral snakes like to get into grass. Wherever there's grass like this, coral snakes love this stuff. You'll find them nestled down in grass. That's their favorite spot. That and they like little marshy areas. That's the only reason why I know that is because my grandmother lived at one time close to Oceano, California. And Oceano, California is where the original Tarzan movie with Johnny Weissmuller was filmed, and they let black mamas, cottonmouths, and coral snakes loose in that little swamp region, that little marsh area, and the coral snakes survived. So there are coral snakes all over that little swamp. Be careful if you go there. But they love this stuff. They will ball up and sleep in grass like this during the day. And you always got to be real careful when walking through grass, getting down into the marsh, because this is where they're going to be sunning. Now I know that because I dang near stepped on one day, right underneath the "Beware of coral snakes" line. Duh. Yeah, it would be nice to go out and track with a few people. In fact, I've been uh, coming up with some ideas of maybe a location I could rent where some of us could get together that are local. I'm also wanting to try to build more of a local community of people. So part of what I want to try to do this winter is, maybe get some interviews with people. I've been trying that for a while, but I recently met a local farmer who was willing to talk about some of their experiences. So I'm going to speak with that individual again and maybe do the interview we talked about, and maybe he'd be willing to either help me out or guide me to people, or maybe I can come up with something. Also been thinking about, taking my Bigfoot footcast down to Cottage Grove Lake and doing an open interview day. You know, have you seen stuff like this down here? Um, and maybe just a question list with dot, bullet points. Have you had things thrown at you? Have you heard unusual calls? Have you heard strange knocks? Have you had whatever, a list for people to kind of go, oh, yeah, I've had actions like that happen around me, and I don't know what it is. I'll talk about my experience. Just anonymous, under the hat kind of interview. You don't have to tell me your name. You don't even have to tell me the location. Just tell me what happened to you, and maybe we can build a group of people that'd be interested in getting together and doing some legwork together here. Oh yeah, we've got a couple of interesting birds down in this area. There are even some yellow tanagers down in this area. They're usually over on the other side of the stream bed, though, back over in those trees back there. Uh, so yeah, occasionally you'll see it, and the tanager's about the size of a dove, maybe a little bit smaller. So they're a good-sized bird. Occasionally we'll get nuthatches down here and flickers, that sort of thing. So they're really pretty, kind of brightly colored birds. Are you sure? No, no, no. 957 pounds. Sorry, I have a stuffy nose today. Are you sure? No, Jin Jin was 957 pounds. And, yeah, 8 foot and a half, roughly. And at the time, she was, 9 years old, I think. Yeah, I think she was 9-ish. Because, or no, she'd been almost 11. Excuse me. I met her when I was 5, she was 10. Yeah, she'd have been 11, maybe 12 years old, 8.5 foot tall, 957 pounds. Yes. Oh, my knee is acting up on me today. Too much walking, it's starting to pop out. And that one, that measurement I was able to get accurately because of the scale, and how I could tell how tall she was. At the foot of my bed, at 4 foot high, was a 6 foot by 6 foot window that was set in place with 1 foot square panes, because we had 9 foot ceilings in our home. It was an old, I think a house I was born in was like, or no, that we lived in when I was 2 and older. I think it was built in 1893, if I remember right. It was a really old house, old farmhouse, beautiful house. Too bad it isn't around anymore. I love that place. We had one of those breezeway walks across the front, so the entire front of the house was a porch. The whole family could sit out there, enjoy the shade. Beautiful place. But uh, because the height of the building, I knew how high it was off of the overall ground. It was 5 foot off the ground, 4 foot inside because it just had bare beam structure underneath. There was no cement pad or anything under it. It was old-fashioned house, the way they made them traditionally. And I could measure her when she came to the window because I knew it was 5 foot at the bottom edge of the windowsill, and then 3 panes up was 8, and half a pane would be 8.5 feet. I believe she made it to about 9 foot tall finally when she turned about 14-ish. So, and she hadn't gotten any heavier. I don't think, at least not that much, maybe 15, 20 pounds. So she was still more or less what she'd been when I was really, really young. Just a little bigger, a little bit taller. But, I was able to accurately measure because I understood the measurements of my house, my window, and, easy judgment for me. And, I could go out and confirm it with a tape measure, which I did. I borrowed my dad's tape measure. I wanted to be sure. That's what happens when your dad's a machinist. You're always going to measure stuff. Not going to just assume. Oh, yeah, thank you, Deborah. And you used to dream walk. Get back into it. It's a good skill to have. And that's really awesome. Uh, yep. Yeah, we've got osprey in this area too. Hi, Jason. Long time no see. Glad you are here. Hope you and your family are well. Are you sure? Do Bigfoot do smudging for any reason? Yes. The Yeren that I research, they use a smudge plant. They use Scotch broom for their memorial sites. They will smudge with that. I don't know if they use other smudges, but it's possible because native lore did say that their religious practices were very much like ours, and many did smudge, and they used different materials for different things. And I have seen some areas where potentially there's been incense cedar smudging going on, and that looked like it was a special event, like maybe a marriage, because there was also evidence of freshly cooked deer and fire remnants directly on the ground nearby. Jason, questions and answers. Yes, yes, definitely. Hey, welcome back, Phil. Hi, how you guys doing? How you been, Phil? Welcome back. The government calls this ability remote viewing. Oh, okay. I suspect the government learned this technique from Sabe. Yeah, or indigenous medicine people. Because, code talkers, people like that, our government has had Native Americans in the military. I'm sure they've probably learned a few things from us or about us. Some of us are more willing to talk than others. And, some of us, this stuff comes pretty natural too. And You have a guy disappear in their bunk a couple times in a few nights in a row, and your drill sergeant's going to notice. That's something that's not as uncommon as you might think. Some indigenous people, Native Americans, South Americans, that sort of thing, when they're in the military, that's both my father and my recent ex, military man with PTSD, uh, both had accounts where they had people in their barracks that would disappear when they slept, and they were indigenous people. So it's a possibility some of us just have natural talents and may or may not be aware of it, or it might be practiced. Oh, bring that skill back. Knowing the future is a good skill to have. Yes, they do, Phil. Bigfoot will get shy of people they don't know. That is for sure. Awesome. Yeah, I'm also trying to figure out how to get my community's post section going. I need to go in and look at the settings and see if I can get it so that if you get a screenshot or something off a video, you can post it, you can talk about it, so we can build a little more rapport with each other. Maybe do some more open discussions in written format with each other, and maybe sharing our personal posts, that sort of thing, or insights. I'd like to be able to do that for my subscribers as well. Bigfoot seem to have a higher density than us humans. Yeah, I think they have 3 layers of muscle instead of like us. We've got of muscle and then a layer of thin fat for warmth because we don't have the hair. But when Jen Jen got bit, she was bit in the shoulder and bit in the neck the first time the Gugway molested her. And when I was treating the wounds, I noticed she didn't have any fat. Uh, she had skin, about a 1/4 inch thick skin, and then it went straight into muscle. And this gash is really bad. The one in her arm took way longer than the one here to heal because he bit into her shoulder really, really bad. Tore, looked like he pulled his mouth or something. Because I had to keep that one pinched shut all the time. I actually asked my mom how to put butterfly stitches on for it to keep that one closed because it was about 1.5 inch long gash. But I didn't see a fat layer. And I was already familiar with how to skin an animal by then. I'd already been skinning animals since I was 2 and watching them being skinned and then autopsying them. So I was very familiar with the anatomy of a creature. And she didn't look like she had a fat layer, but she did have some pretty thick muscles and could. Yeah, I remember the day she pulled those railroad ties out of the backside of our freezer unit, just like she was opening a door, just moving them aside to go get rats. Yikes! That was a lot of downward pressure on those. It would have been, it would have taken a bobcat or another device, a cherry puller or something to pull those things over. Cherry picker that you used to lift an engine with. Something, she just moved them though like they were a cover on a book or a freaking hollow door in your house. Just move it over like nothing. Yeah, it took my dad about 2 hours, 2.5 hours to use a sledgehammer to pound those stupid boards back in place because they were, the big heavy railroad ties that are oil impregnated. So they'd built their external walls out of. Okay. Agent 770 arrived since before some of them. There was a couple, like, Yep, be real close to them. Spheres of influence, seems like. Yeah, yeah, they do. Groups will communicate with each other. Groups will have certain interactions with each other. And if you end up in a high density area where there are a lot of groups, you will get a chance to see those sorts of interactions and communications and relationships that they maintain with each other. Lisa, the whole subject is so much, you know. I have learned so much from you. I knew that most people know which is nothing for what the subject really is. Oh, I'm glad you've learned a lot, Lisa. I'm glad the information is useful, and I'm glad I'm able to have a platform to share uh, my grandmother's lore and knowledge on, and the little bit of ground floor that I can show you and explain. I'm so glad to be able to do that. So I do hope you do not mind me adding my experiences and theories. I'm trying to figure it out still. No problem, Phil. Just please don't advertise other channels unless you ask. That's all I ask. And yeah, you're a really good person, Jason. I'm so glad you take care of your parents the way that you do, and you're such a faithful individual. I really admire you. I think you're a good human being. Are you sure? What is the best type of salt as a gift? Table salt, or a type for deer or wildlife? Um, I've used Himalayan salt. I'll just leave them some Himalayan salt, or occasionally I'll get a rabbit lick. They like rabbit licks. And those aren't too expensive. So simple stuff like that, they'll take that. Um, whatever you're comfortable with. But I usually try to give them something that's got iodine in it, make sure they stay healthy in their thyroid. Because they sometimes live in really polluted, dirty areas and they drink really bad water. So their thyroids will help keep their systems clean and them healthy longer. So iodide salt of some sort, sea salt, kosher salt, Himalayan salt, rabbit licks, anything that they'll be able to take with them. I'm glad you're doing okay. I'll still pray for you, Jason, though, because I know uh, you got a lot on your hands. Yeah, I definitely pray for you. Okay, Agent 770, Deborah, taking seriously beyond finally really knowing actual interacting you, which reality side of it. Yeah, I'm glad that my channel's been able to help open eyes. Phil, are you aware of any cryptid or being that can take form from... Okay, wait a minute. Are you aware of any cryptid or being that can take you from your bed, but only with your consent? Huh. No, I am not aware of something like that. Yikes. That sounds scary. Yow. I wonder if there's any lore about that sort of thing. Usually, the lore I'm aware of, they don't ask permission, they just take you. That would almost be scarier, I think. To have something, can I take you? No, 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 of course not, go away. Yeah, Space Ace. I inherited my honker because I'm a Native American. And I'm part cryptid. Pretty proud of my big old beak here. Hey, Melissa. Glad to have you here. So, how common is Bigfoot cryptid crime? Have any humans ever been secured to a pig pole? Well, I know of accounts from pioneer times, where Bigfoot put a few people on pig poles, both pioneers and natives in the past. I don't know about today. Could be. If they've done it in the past, there's a potential they might still today. And the crime within their communities is actually really, really low. Um, you, they take care of it really quick. There is maybe 1 or 2%. They really teach their kids well when they're young, and if they find an individual that is bothersome or troublesome in their behavior, the whole community will come together to guide and watch over and get that person, that individual, to understand and learn. And it won't, if the individual refuses and goes on for years, maybe stealing from everyone, then they may be given the ultimatum, you need to leave, go away. Or if they get into a more heinous crime, maybe they attack a child, or they try to attack a woman, or maybe the other way around, try to attack a male. Depending on the crime, they'll, kick them out, they'll beat them up, mark them, kick them out, or they'll put them on a pig pole if the crime is serious enough. So the overall deterrent factor of being put on a pig pole usually keeps their crime level very, very minimal. It's not common within their communities to have crime because they take care of it very quickly. They don't tolerate it, and some of it's incredibly quick to be dealt with. Molesting a man, woman, or child, that immediately gets you put on a pig pole. Enslaving somebody, pig pole. Killing someone, pig pole. That's all taken care of immediately. The bad behavior, they'll try to educate you and get you to wake up and become part of the community. If you refuse, then it's banishment, Can't socialize with it if you refuse to. Time to go on. We know you're not going to survive alone. Yeah, I haven't seen him around for a minute. I need to go check his channel and see if Cosmic's been posting. I haven't seen anything new from him, though. I'm wondering if he's alright, or if he's just gotten really overdone with work. He might just be really, really busy. Yeah, let Space Ace show how much of an ace he is. If you ever watched any British sitcoms, Red Dwarf comes to mind, Space Ace. You're following the role quite well. Hey, Beezer. Otherwise, teacher, glad to see you doing well. I've grown my knowledge, basically. Oh, I'm so glad to hear that. are you sure would protect you? Would Sabe protect you from a dangerous human, similar to how they protected you from dangerous cryptids? Yes. During one of my lives last year, I actually had a skaakum warn me of a human that was camping in the area that turned out not to be very good. And they were, you know, breaking limbs in a tree nearby me and getting my attention. And I kept my focus here, but I communicated off screen with hand signals. Where are they? Where's the people? Where do I need to look? And they directed me. So when I left the area, I scouted where they had indicated there was an issue. And there was somebody, some feral human in a tent back there that probably shouldn't have been there and probably wasn't good. So I avoided that area after that for a while. And then when I did go back in, they had even kind of picked up and moved further down the streamway, left markers like a boogeyman marker and kicked rocks to let me know they'd moved on. Little ways to, trail talk to teach each other, show each other what's going on. So yes, they will, once they know you, realize you understand them, they will warn you about bad people and bad cryptids. And they use the boogeyman marker, the two stones and a stick, representing two eyes and a nose, because this is what you see of things like Gugway. Todd Standing's picture of the black-eyed, black-skinned Gugway looking over the log, a real good example of how they will look at you. Something to be very careful of when you see that, because they're not friendly. So I was a little better off with the little young Gugway just sitting in a mixed group and off the bushes. I'm like, okay, they're not. They might have been taken in. They might have been survivors from a forest fire. I don't know. I don't think that's a Gugway group, because there were also Bigfoot there. Or maybe it's a mixed group. Hey, Carrie. How you doing? Lisa, if there are different kinds of cryptids, do they protect each other? Yes. So when I was living in the yurt a few years back, the dogman that was near me responded one night to a call for help from some Sasquatch of some type a couple miles away. So in the middle of the night, I was awakened, I think it was about 2 or 3 in the morning, by a woman screaming and a child screaming and a bunch of coyotes, you know, yakking, barf, 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 barking. This went on for probably 10 minutes. Not something I wanted to hear. As far as I could tell, what had happened was a very young Sasquatch had gotten too far away from Mom at night while foraging. It had been attacked by the coyotes because I could hear the child screaming. At first I thought it was a human child until I heard Mom scream and roar, and then all hell break loose when she started running to her child's location. Next I hear is dogs being, yep, yep, just decimated. And the child screaming, and her mourning and calling for her mate. She picked her child up. I could tell she'd gotten the coyotes off of the child, her young one. And then I heard Daddy coming in, and he did the same thing, breaking trees as he came in. And he roared all the way down. When he got to the end, I could hear him going after the pack. And there had to have been a big pack there, maybe 20, 30 coyotes, because he then made a call for the dogman that had been harassing me, and he boonied. He went straight over to where they were, And for the next few minutes, I hear them ripping apart, the Dogman and the Bigfoot ripping apart those coyotes and then continuing to chase them further westward from the site. For the next 2, 3 nights, both that Bigfoot and the Dogman that harassed me at my yurt chased down those coyotes and just decimated every one of them that they could find. And then everything settled down again. But I'm not sure her little one lived through it because I remember hearing her wailing like she was crying. So I'm pretty sure he didn't make it. That was a really bad thing to hear. And unfortunately, I didn't think to record it because I was sitting upright in my bed in my yurt going, my God, what the heck is going on outside? And when I went and investigated the area the next day, somebody's private property, a ranch down at the bottom of the ravine, has a hillside in it. I think that little Bigfoot group lived up on their property because that was about the location I'd heard them, and that was a couple miles away from where I was staying in the yurt. It's better here. It's finally overcast. We finally got some breeze. It's in the mid high 70s today. It's a nice, relaxing day. I'm glad for that. So thank you for asking, Jason. Phil, I suspect that the mind speak may be like collective, hard to keep secrets. Yeah, I can believe that. Oh, good. I'm glad it's nice there in Washington. I'm glad it's temperatures dropped some there, Jason. Oh my God, 92. Ouch. It's been in the 90s here the last couple of weeks, Carrie. It's terrible. Hope you cool down. Yeah, it's I have a playlist, Deborah, with some of the hand talking lessons that other natives have put up, and I did do some of the hand talking that I use, some basic stuff. That's another thing, you can use hand talking with these people if you can't speak their language and you can't find one that speaks English, they will still respond to hand talk, Native American Sign Language. So you can talk to them in sign language and they'll usually tap back or use calls in response. So, you gotta have a little give and take in that communication. They won't come out and show you typically their sign language, but they will respond in kind. If you say, uh, everybody in a circle, where are we meeting? They'll tap in the direction where they meet, for instance. Let you know, 2 taps over here. It's where we all get friends. All friends are welcome there. And then you can ask, can I go there? Is it okay? And they'll say yes or no. So there are ways you can communicate. They'll get it still. Can I see where you live, where your teepee is? Okay, Kira, have you been to Lake County, California, or Point Arena on the coast of Mendocino? What's seen there? Mendocinos have Yeren, and I think they have the Moyuk dog in that area, from what my native grandmother said. At one time, there were other species. There were albinistic humanoids that lived in caves around that region. There's still some of those in the San Jose, Los Gatos area. But there are quite a few cryptids out in those regions. There are some dog people supposedly there too. So it just depends what's still left in the area. But there are still modern sightings in that region. If you can go to the local museums, take a look at the native masks, it'll give you a really good idea, Kira, of what is still potentially in those regions. And I know the museums down there are really good, have good native exhibits. These are, I want to ask you, what information would you happen to have, or have you seen one of the goat people? The mixed group, back by where they directed me to meet with them, is potentially a goat person. I caught its horns at distance, sitting in the shadows. I cannot get the picture to come up clear enough to show a real good outline of the individual, but I can go back in and I'm going to try to see if I can capture him as well and get him in footage. So there is potentially one close to where that mixed group is down in the stream bed. It's such a mixed group anyway, it wouldn't surprise me. But yeah, I caught him in the outline when I was doing the piece on the teepee and being their front door structure. When I pan back towards the brush line and the little dark spot, you can see a pair of horns, one's broken off. And there have been sightings of that individual throughout some sections of this valley. I've never been able to figure out exactly where he lived. He's been seen all the way up into the Cresswell area and Mosby area and almost to Cottage Grove Lake. So he might be one that passes through, but hopefully I'll be able to catch some footage of him. Something better, something clearer. At least now I know potentially where one of his stop points are, or maybe where he lives. 64 in Canada. Awesome. At least not too bad. Cool. Glad you're well, Carrie. Beazer, yes, I have encountered a mixed group. Before you can talk about two kinds of cryptids, I've seen like ones that look like Ewoks and some that look like they were crossed with others. The little Ewok guys, they might be, oh god, what do they call it? Wananapi? Well, they might be the little people versions. They're not always good to be around. But some, these days, they may have changed their attitude. I know native lore says some of them are pretty trickster-ish. They may not hurt you, but they might change their mind. If you see too many in one area, you get worried, because they hunt in packs, like little people. And they were, some reported to be carnivorous to people. Yeah, I'm glad they do also stick together in situations like that. But no, it's not pleasant to hear. And I wish there was something I could have done, but yeah, too far away, and they took care of it, just poor little one. Alright, Carrie, dogmen have a nasty vibe here, totally different than the Squatch. Yes, some of them do have a really nasty vibe. The bigger ones here, Inky Dogman Track Guy, he's got a really nasty vibe. I don't feel comfortable about being around him at all, and I do not want to run across him again. Yep. Yeah, same happens here, Phil. We've got a lot of farmers here that keep those carnivorous dogs in check, you know. Otherwise, they're going to start walking off with your farm animals. the guy that I seen, the goat person, he said to look at him, and it had to be at least around 7 foot tall. And he said it was a male, leapt into the air and disappeared in front of his eyes. That's interesting. I've not experienced something like that, but if I do, I will definitely try to catch that on film, if it ever happens around me. Carrie, I've experienced both. One watching my son by a small creek, one in the woods by our home that put a fear in us when I was unlike any I'd ever experienced. I literally felt like prey. Yep, I've been there myself. Not a good feeling. That's the group that I want to investigate, but I'm really leery because it was the only time I've been driven out of an area by fear. It's never worked before on me. So somebody in that particular group is very strong. Don't want to mess with that. I want to take my time with that one. And yeah, be very, very careful. Don't go out in dark, and be very leery at dusk and at dawn. Please, Carrie. If you're feeling that kind of thing, you are prey. Keep that in mind. Genesis. Hi. In Wales, UK, Bigfoot call themselves the Bigfoot. We communicate with them using pendulums. They tell us they removed negative entities from our cities. I can believe that. I can definitely believe that. Sorry, my dog was noticing things. I wonder how many different kinds of cryptids there is. Lisa, my grandmother's native lore, I had an understanding that somewhere between 200 and 240 species of cryptids were here within the United States that, were part of lore or known of through lore. So there are potentially quite a few types. And this week I'm going to do, and probably right after this live, when I post the little trail talk thing that they left for me, I'm probably also going to post some finds from earlier last month. They're only pictures. They will be in my post section, but they are dinosaur prints, small velociraptor, what do they call them, Dolongdo raptors. So I have about 4 pictures of the tracks. There is a little family group of Bigfoot that keep them as layers, like chickens. The particular dino is only about knee height. I have never seen it. I have heard it in the brush line. I have found its tracks. I have found evidence of it eating small things like fawn in the area. I'm going to try to get some footage if I can, but it is in such an unusual little area. I don't want to expose the area. I don't want people going in there and messing with them, trying to find them, because I don't know how many there are. It only sounds like one, and potentially a few young. So I don't think there is a large group of the little dino in the area, and I definitely don't want them getting hurt. I don't feel any kind of fear from them, and I don't feel like prey when I'm down there. But I do get warned not to get too close, because they are meat eaters. And I got my doggo that's about the same size. I don't want any bad interactions. But I'll post those little 3-toed tracks here today as well. Just so you have an idea of some of the other things, other than the 200 to 240 humanoid-like cryptids. There are other cryptids out there that are leftover historic animals that have survived through different calamities. Oh, that. Yikes, Phil. That's not unheard of here either. Bigfoot, Dogman, they'll both steal your deer out hunting season. Those turkeys, and they will watch you. Carrie, we don't go outside at night anymore. Also keep porch lights on. Yeah, good idea. Our place is surrounded by woods close to uh, Breakhead National Forest, or Bankhead National Forest. The woods are big nope when the sun starts going down. Yeah, because, you got other things like cougar and stuff running around too, I bet. Oh, you're welcome, Carrie. Definitely. I'm glad to share what I know. Phil, I have long suspected Sabe have knowledge that they are not allowed to share with humans. Well, yeah. They won't tell you about their cures. They'll keep their medicine practices to themselves. They don't tell their history to you unless they trust you, and they know this planet's history. They're very aware of all the catastrophes we've gone through, the different periods of prehistoric time, different family groups and different types go way, way back. Badger Men, they go back to a time when this planet was still very volcanic. Some of the other cryptids, giants, a few of those go back to that timeline. So all those people have lore, and it's not that they're not allowed to share it. We have ignored their lore and we have turned away from them in the past, and we have treated them poorly and preyed upon them. So they don't like talking to us. They don't like sharing with us. And a lot of them don't trust us anymore. So if you end up having a good relationship, or you're in an area where they still have good bonds with humans, you are in a very good location. Take advantage of that. Learn as much as you can from them. And keep a record of it. Oh, cool, Lauren. Glad you're having some outdoor time and getting to listen to the show. Yeah, looks like it's getting busy around here, and I've been on for almost 2.5 hours. So if y'all have any more questions, time's now. Phil, I've seen one Dogman 3 times. I've seen at least 24 individual Bigfoot, 6 types, over over eight times. Oh, okay, over 80 times, and have 3 UFO experiences, but only one ghost. I'm still going out. Awesome! Wow, Phil, that's really amazing. That's good. Okay, Agent 770. I know how it sounds like a joke, but some have seen, even reported a bat squatch. Basically a Sasquatch, only it has a bat head. Yes, I have pictures of a baby Comozots. Mayan lore calls the Batman Bigfoot a Comozots. They worship them in ancient times as their war god, and had very specific ceremonial practices regarding them. And I do have a picture of an adult that I just got recently, and male. I'm trying to get an angle where I can hopefully find them in open more, not nestled in the brush line so bad. See if I can get a better picture. You coming back? You need some water? Here, let me get the leaves out of your water. There you go. Get the leaves. There you go. Get some water. Doggo's getting impatient. You want to go play in the stream? Okay. So yes, native Mayan culture called the bat Bigfoot type a Comozotes. And there are a few in this valley. I do have a few pictures up. I'm going to try to get more and clearer pictures now that I've got access to a few that are in that mixed group. Maybe I can find them more regularly and get some clearer footage of them. As soon as I do, I'll be posting it, of course. Okay, I don't think people even believe in any of them around where I live. People just laugh at me. That's okay, Lisa. Let them laugh. They don't know what you know. And you're the one that's going to have the last laugh anyway, because the more we're able to make this part of the public consciousness, this subject and topic, more people will come to the reality of it and they'll accept it. Besides, it's part of uh, growing up as a culture, understanding where you live, understanding what you live with, and what's around you is paramount to being an adult culture. And we are starting that phase now with where we are in our solar system and universe. I know. Yeah, that's something I've been thinking about, that sort of harassment, the laugh at people. I always think about it because there's got to be ways of shutting that stuff down or educating people. And I came up with this idea, the, the Patty film, which has been investigated and confirmed as real, and even the normies will usually accept that film as being bona fide. One, it was filmed during the day. That gives you a clue that they're not just nocturnal. Two, it gives you officially, because the military was involved in examining that film, and that is maybe not on paper, but official in a way, because it's military. They've looked at it. They've discerned that it's not been messed with. It's not been doctored. It's not been altered. It's not been anything. So we're like the Ron Moorhead, uh, language and call captures, communication captures, stuff like that. That's also been reviewed by the military and declared not a hoax. Bring those two pieces of very bona fide information up. Give them that information and go, really? Now, if you find the footprint of something like that, isn't that just like finding the footprint of a human or a dog, a cat, a deer or any other living creature? That might make them think a little, maybe wake them up a bit. It's worth a shot anyway. I don't like to try to argue with people, but, I like to educate them. I like to get them to educate themselves, get them to think about stuff, realize their world is bigger than what they know already. Yeah, exactly. Don't let doubters shut you down. They don't know anyway. They've not had an experience, and they were never taught any lore about them. So they know nothing about these things. They'll only know if somebody officially tells them. Okay, Beezer, could you tell once more again who are the large ones that make the best out of bear's hides, and the name of the little people on the APP backward legs, like a kangaroo mouse that had clothing on? Yee. I know the bigger ones are Druga, because they've got, well, they average 30 foot, and they've got these massive fangs usually. Come here, doggo. Let me put you back on your lead. Come here, come here, come here. Don't go anywhere, baby. Give me just a second. Just trying to keep her wrangled. And I'm trying to remember. See, my It's been 50 years since my grandmother told me all my lore, so I have to usually sit and think for a day, remember what the stories were. Let me think. I know Alaska's got some sort of unusual little uh, backward-legged cryptid. It's a small person. I think they're kind of like what do they call them in Hawaii? A poiai? I think they're kind of like the poiai. I'm trying to remember the name. It's been a long time. You can probably look them up, though. Some of the lore is still, available online. You can find specific names by looking for a description and looking for, native lore regionally. Alaskan native lore of little people, because they have different names in different states or regions, because different tribes name them differently, or they might even be a different kind of cryptid. Oh, good, Carrie. I'm glad you were able to introduce your friend to reality. So I admit it now. I admit it is hard to have to suppress what we know. Yeah, I know, right? I agree with you on that one, Phil. It's more talk needs to occur. Yeah, very true, Lisa. We do need to know, and people are pretty well oblivious to it. Yes, Patty Film is amazing. I agree. Phil. Oh, I said, do you know what the glowing, floating balls of, balls of light are? I call them fart bubbles. My grandmother's native lore had a couple of different concepts, what they thought they were. She herself believed that they were some sort of a fairy or a little flying creature of some type, like Tinkerbell or something. But then there were other tribes, and even within our own Lakota lore, some some family groups believe they are more like a spirit, like an entity that doesn't want to go on, that lingers behind. There are ghosts that doesn't take form. And then there's also the modern concept that they might be some sort of an orb being. Maybe they're an alien of some type. I'm not really sure. I've seen very few in my life, but they do. The ones that we saw up around the family's home in my hometown that was getting bothered by the orbs could go through walls, they could open doors, they could open windows, and they would follow you, and they seem to have a presence of mind. So whatever they are, they're potentially intelligent. Yes, and there was also a lot of natives that believed they were like a wisp, a will-o'-the-wisp sort of thing. Beezer. Druga. Druga, there are statues of Druga in India. They are giant. Druga is a giant primate-like deity with fangs top and bottom. Some Druga only have fangs from the bottom, some only from the top, and some have a full set that extrude, are visible. So the Alaskan natives have begun to call the really big, unusual, round-headed Bigfoot up there that look like the Hindi god Druga. They started calling them Druga. They've renamed them because they feel that the descriptions in the Hindi texts are more accurate as to what they are and what they act like. Okay, me and my younger brother tackled one, and it was able to lift over 500 pounds of humans off it and get away. I don't doubt it. They can chuck you like a they want to, they can chuck you. They can pick you up and throw you. Some of them might be smaller. That I know the ones up in Alaska can get quite large and are reported to live very long. 100 plus years, 200. In some cases, there have been stories and lore in some local regions of, particular giants or druga like Bigfoot that are really large, that have been, the same individuals have been seen for several hundred years in some parts of Alaska. So some of these creatures may live a very, very long time. Yeah, no kidding. I hear you there, Phil. Seems there are more types of cryptids than numbers to count them. Deborah, you capture orbs all the time in the Kodiak, on my Kodiak camera. Everywhere I go, wish more people use regular cameras. I choose not to use cell phones. Understandable, and yes, different types of cameras are and film types can capture different types of things. North Carolina has mountain light spheres of lights moving around in the mountains. Oh wow, Agent 770. That's amazing, and I have heard of that before. Ray, do you get Venmo set up yet? No, but my GoFundMe is available, and it's up and running just fine. And I believe it accepts Venmo. You can find my GoFundMe at Fund. Just do a search for Fund Northwest, gotta spell the word out, Native Trackers, Bigfoot Expeditions, with an S. And you'll be able to donate there. Hopefully I'll be able to get a Venmo going. It's just this last week, with between losing my job a week and a half or so ago and looking for work and getting hired and starting to retrain, I didn't have a lot of time to focus on much else except getting a new job and having an income, because I like what I do on my spare time. I like being able to go out and record things and show ground spore and potentially show you guys cryptids and give you some first-hand knowledge of what they look like and how they act and how close you can get safely, because you can get very close. Looks like my phone is about to die. My battery is getting low. I am probably going to have to end it here because it just went down to dark mode. Alright guys, you have a good one. Thank you everyone for being here today. I really appreciate you. Please, like and share anything that's important to you or that you find pertinent or that you just enjoy. And I'm going to be posting more little clips of Karma. Her and her log hunting for sticks. Oh my god. I'm going to post some more about her. She's just too cute. Okay, everybody. Really appreciate you being here, sharing time with me today. Have a great weekend. Hope you have a great work week. And if you have anything to spare and are willing to help me and my puppy out, please go ahead and visit my GoFundMe site. Email me if you end up with a good capture in one of my videos. And let me get my settings in my community set up. Maybe we can start getting a rapport, much like what we do here in the lives going on the YouTube channel. Take care, everyone. Have a good time. Thank you again. Much love.